If you find it hard to trust people, it's probably not without reason. It's rarely a character flaw. More often, it's a result of your experiences, a deep self-awareness, or just the way your mind has learned to protect itself from getting hurt. Psychology shows that people who approach others with caution often possess a set of traits that are actually quite rare, demanding, and often overlooked. And if you recognize yourself in some of these traits, you might just understand yourself better than ever before. Let's dive into what those traits are. The first trait is a high sensitivity to inconsistency. If you struggle with trust, you probably notice the small contradictions in people's behavior very quickly. You pick up on those moments when someone says one thing but does something completely different. You hear the slight shifts in their tone of voice. You see the forced smiles, the subtle evasions when they answer a question. For most people, these details are just background noise, completely insignificant. But for you, they are bright red warning signals. Your mind has learned through experience that inconsistency often comes right before disappointment or betrayal. This isn't paranoia. It's a sharpened perception, an emotional radar that's been fine-tuned over time. The problem is, the more clearly you see the truth in these small moments, the harder it becomes to ignore it. And trust requires exactly that, doesn't it? A temporary suspension of that constant vigilance. You have to be willing to lower your guard, even for a moment, and that can feel incredibly difficult when your entire system is telling you to stay alert. The second trait is a deep, profound need for emotional safety. If trusting others feels like climbing a mountain, it's likely because at some point in your past you trusted too much and fell. Maybe it was someone very close to you who let you down, disappeared when you needed them, or took advantage of your openness and vulnerability. From that moment on, your mind learned one crucial, unforgettable lesson. Trust without safety is a threat. It's a danger to your well-being. That's why you no longer open up easily. It's not because you're incapable of closeness or love. Far from it. It's because you need proof, real, tangible proof, that your emotions won't be dismissed, mishandled, or used against you. For you, relationships aren't a casual social game. They are sacred spaces where you want to feel stable, secure, and truly seen. Until that stability is built, brick by brick, you'll naturally keep your distance. It's a defense mechanism, yes, but it's one that's protecting your core. The third trait is having strong psychological autonomy. People who struggle with trust often rely primarily on themselves. Over the years, you've learned to regulate your own emotions, make your own decisions, and handle your own problems, all independently. You've become your own rock. As a result, you don't naturally feel the need to hand over control to anyone else. In fact, the very idea can feel foreign. Trust, in its essence, involves partially relinquishing that control. It means letting someone else into your world and giving them a degree of influence. And for someone who has built a fortress of self-reliance, that can feel deeply uncomfortable, even threatening. It's not because you seek dominance or want to control others, but because your inner world is structured, predictable, and safe. Letting someone new inside introduces the risk of chaos, of disruption. That's why, before you can truly trust someone, you need to be certain that they won't come in and wreck the inner balance you've worked so hard to create. You need to know they will respect your space, not just occupy it. The fourth trait is a heightened awareness of human motivation. You have this intuitive sense, almost like a sixth sense, that helps you understand that people rarely act without some form of self-interest. You can just feel it when someone is being kind because they want something from you. You can sense when a helping hand is offered with the unspoken expectation of gratitude or a favor in return. You can tell when someone's interest in you is really just a way for them to seek validation for themselves. This awareness makes you unwilling and, frankly, unable to take declarations at face value. Words are just words. They aren't enough for you. What matters are actions, consistency over time, and a pattern of behavior that backs up what's being said. In your world, trust doesn't emerge from a promise or a grand declaration. It grows slowly from careful observation. It's a process, not an impulse. You're like a scientist, gathering data, looking for evidence before you're willing to accept the conclusion that someone is trustworthy. And the fifth, and perhaps most defining trait, is a deep need for authenticity. If you find it difficult to trust others, it's very likely because you have little to no tolerance for fakeness. You're just not interested in relationships built on masks, performances, or social roles. You would rather have one single genuine bond than 10 superficial, polite acquaintances. The problem is, true authenticity is rare. It's a precious commodity. Most people show the world only what is safe, polished, and socially acceptable. They present a curated version of themselves. You, however, instinctively sense when someone isn't being real. You can feel the gap between who they are and who they're pretending to be. And until you see the real person with their flaws, their contradictions, their vulnerabilities, and their raw honesty, trust simply doesn't come naturally. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for what's real. So if you recognize yourself in these traits, I want you to remember one very important thing. Having difficulty with trust does not mean you are closed off, broken, or flawed. It means you are attentive. It means your experiences have taught you a valuable lesson. To protect what matters most to you, your emotions, your peace of mind, and your sense of truth. Trust is not something you should give away freely to everyone who asks for it. It is something precious, something that must be earned through time, consistency, and genuine connection, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. In a world that often values superficiality, your need for depth is a strength, not a weakness.